I've had probably 3 blown accounts. It was because I never stopped when I should have. Now it's gambling at this point. How did I fix it? I'll be honest with you. I think it's just running into good mentors. And after a certain point, they can't help you. You have to want to help yourself. Just a quick shout out to Hamdi Zuka, the late Hamdi Zuka. He's passed away, unfortunately. He was my smart money concept mentor. My first account was a personal account. I withdrew from that. I think it was about $800 US, which I was super proud of because I grew this account from 200. To me, 1 to 10 was something that got me a lot of my losses back quick. If you ask me now what my risk to reward is, it's 1 to 2. I saw profitability far quicker with SNR than I did other methods. Whatever you put your energy into, you're going to reap some rewards off of it.
Folks, we've got Avesworld coming up on the show here today. He's a Malaysian SNR trader who started off with SMC. He shares a ton of value in this episode. There's so much you can actually learn from what he's done. Some advice in here as well. So there's plenty to get your teeth into. After that, you want to check out the video where he breaks down what he does on a price chart. Epic stuff all around Malaysian SNR. Now, to get access to that, you want to click the link in the description. Now, whilst you're down there, check out the sponsors. We've got Blue Guardian, BLACKBULL, and Apex. They're all offering great discounts if you are a Trading Nut subscriber, so go and click those links right now. Before we dive in, I do want to tell you about one other thing I'm doing here on Trading Nut, which is kind of awesome. I'm building out a trading strategy based on fair value gaps. We're automating the whole thing. In fact, we have automated it already. We've started to get some results coming out, so this is dropping over the next few weeks. We've got live calls where I'm doing these tests. You can see in the live calls how I come up with these results, and this one was one of the results we got, like literally out of the first hour and a half of testing. It was on one pair, so we've got tons and tons of markets to choose from, but this is the first one we found. It has 2 to 3 trades a month with a 38% win rate and an 8% drawdown over a 6-year period. So folks, this is looking pretty promising. If you do want to get your hands on that, there's links to that in the description also. Now, before we dive in, let's check out and see how I'm getting on with my Blue Guardian challenge. All right, folks, here we are on the Blue Guardian dashboard. This is my account. We've got a loss and a win this week. I'll show you why. It wasn't the cleanest of weeks at all. Let's dive in and have a look. So you can see here, this is the first trade. I actually took it the week before, right at the end of the day. What was I thinking? Or the end of the week, it gapped up the next week and it took me out way past my 1R stop loss. So I actually took more than 1R loss on that. That was a real shame. Then nothing more for the rest of the week until I missed a position, had to enter it manually, guess the lot size and got it wrong to the point where I had to suffer through all this drawdown. Thankfully, it didn't hit my stop loss because it probably would have blown the account. The Guardian Protector would have been great at that point. I didn't have it running. I got out of the majority of position at break even, and then I took my actual trade here, which got me out at just about 1R. So that was it for the week, just 2 trades. I'm bringing more pairs in this week, so hopefully more trades, and let's see this account get up there back into the blue. All right, guys, if you do want to grab your own Blue Guardian challenge, click the link and the coupon below the video, all one word, Trading Nut, and you'll get yourself 10% off at checkout. All right, folks, here we are on Trading Nut. We've got Avesworld here in the house now. I've been trying to get this guy on for quite some time. He's been trading for 5 years. He's a profitable trader for 3.5. He's a Malaysian SNR trader, but didn't start off there. We're going to get his full story here and find out all about how he does what he does. So welcome to the show, Aves.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on.
Now, to start off with, look, I've seen you. You've been in my Telegram group for a long time, like almost, sorry, my list of Telegram groups that I've sort of kept an eye on. So I'm so glad to get you on, first of all. But let's start off at the beginning. How did you get started into trading, and how did it all sort of formulate from there?
Right. So I got started with trading actually through a friend of mine well, he's no longer a friend of mine after you listen to this story, but so I got introduced to it back in late high school. So when I was just going into college, and you know, when at that age you want to sort of get independence, you know, you want to start earning something and have that freedom to sort of earn on the side. And so I took his suggestions and his advice, signed up to a broker that he told me to sign up to. And after, basically, to cut the long story short, it was an MLM marketing or scheme or something. Yeah. Pyramid scheme, they call it.
Marketing, yeah.
Yes, there we go. A pyramid scheme. And it was notorious in Malaysia. You know, it's not like you had a bunch of these popping out of nowhere, but this particular group was very famous, and apparently a lot of people liked them. So I said, okay, let's go into it. I didn't know it was a pyramid scheme, of course. I didn't even know what it was back then, to be honest with you. I didn't really understand it. And then later I found out that the way these guys earn their money is through recruiting other people under them. And so they would get commissions, if I'm not wrong. That's how they earned commissions. And so I didn't like that idea at all, because when I first joined, the way they got you in was through this moment in time where gold just kept on buying. And so they would say, all right, so price is low, so let's just buy a bunch. And so you would see the profits. Genuinely, I earned a lot of money during that time for somebody who is just getting into college. It was a lot of money. And I was very impressed by what they showed us. But after that whole gold rush calmed down, I asked them, all right, so how do I start trading actually? They said, well, to be honest with you, the markets are really hard to trade. So you need to get people, you need to get people under you. And what's going to happen is that we're going to add you to a group. And so we're going to forward you on WhatsApp a bunch of these signals, which had terrible results, by the way. And regardless of that, you would earn from your youngers, sort of. And I did not like that one bit, because that just seemed super unethical. I was not teaching them anything. I was not bringing them any value. I was just saying, all right, you know what? Let me forward this message to them. So yeah, basically that was how I got started with it. And after that, I started, I was left with this sort of thinking of whether this was even real or whether the entire Forex industry was a scam, until I realized, no, actually you can make money from this in a legitimate way. It's just, you got to learn from a valid source, right? And yeah, that's how I got started with smart money concept, actually. Yeah.
It's funny, like, just on that, how many people do start off, and look, I was the same, thinking that this is actually a scam, that nobody's making money in this at all. I mean, what was the thing that got you over that hump? Because otherwise, if you kind of don't get over that hump, you're always forever thinking, it's hard to commit to it for a longer period of time. And was it something that you discovered yourself?
Yeah, sure. Because I joined Telegram communities when I first started out. I think that's where most people found who Avi is, through Telegram communities. And I would really try hard to learn from that. So to answer your question, how did I sort of get over the hump of figuring out whether this was even real or whether it was a scam? I got introduced to a bunch of smart money concept leaked courses. I'll be honest with you, man. I consumed them, like most people out there would. And I found that, okay, these guys actually had people who were making very good trades. Yeah, maybe, some of them did not exactly show us track records or anything, but they were making trades. They were calling trades out before they occurred, which really impressed me. And I said, that means this has to have some sort of validity to it. And that's when I started learning, and I gained my own success in it. I was like, okay, I may not be consistent. I may not be making a bunch of money just yet, but I can see what they're teaching works. So yeah.
So you went from sort of clueless in gold to SMC. I mean, how was it you were able to sort of take that knowledge and then apply it without any sort of kind of, I suppose, roller coaster ride of, the typical trader emotions that get in the way?
Oh, I had terrible psychology when I first started out, which is why I preach that the most now. And I used to have overtrading problems. I used to have issues of revenge trading. And let me tell you something, that was probably the most difficult thing for me to overcome, which was my psychology. And constantly looking at the charts when you place the trade. Now that's all remediated because I have experience. I've taken care of the psychology aspect of things. How did I fix it? I'll be honest with you. I think it's just running into good mentors, running into mentors that have gone through this stuff as well, and they tell you what to do about it. And for me, it was just setting yourself a plan, sticking by it. And after a certain point, they can't help you. You have to want to help yourself. You have to say, all right, I've placed 2 trades. Unfortunately, either due to my own mistake or the way the markets are set up, it didn't work out. Am I going to continue doing that? Or am I going to say, all right, for today, we're done. I've reached my risk limit. We're done for today. Let's look at the charts again tomorrow. So it gets on you after a certain point. No mentor out there is going to help you at that point. Yeah.
It's amazing that, well, I say it's amazing because it takes some people forever, it never actually happens for them. Yeah. So you obviously managed to somehow get to that point where things like, I'm going to sit out after 2 trades and not go and revenge trade, even though you said that, i.e. you're not going to sort of undermine yourself to then go backwards. There must have been some pain in there that would have hurt you enough to go, right, I've learnt my lesson and not, go and touch that hot stove again. Can you think of anything that happened there?
I think we all know the answer. That has to be a blown account, doesn't it? So yeah. I've had probably three blown accounts before it really solidified in my head the reason I blew those accounts. They were $1,000 accounts. I didn't even have that kind of money back then. But they were a couple, they started off with micro accounts. Then I said, you know what? Okay, I'm not gaining consistency, but I'm seeing some money here. Let me deposit a little bit more, which is fine. That's all okay. It's just that when I looked back, when I sat and I thought, all right, so I have an account in negative balance. What is the reason that this occurred? And I said, it was because I never stopped when I should have. Now it's gambling at this point, you could say. It's gambling. So it's like, that's not healthy at all. I started this to create my first ever stream of income. I'm a college kid. I don't have any streams of income. I said, let me in my free time analyze these charts, whatever, create my first ever stream of income. Super exciting. And then I said, wait a minute, it's turned into gambling. And I said, that's not at all healthy. So yeah, that was the thing that really made it click in my head.
Yeah. So once you lose those accounts, and I suppose especially accounts that as a college student you're not going to have this money readily available, it does really hurt, and you've got to take it seriously. So how did you sort of turn it around then to you started seeing some growth? I mean, can you remember even your first account that grew, and did you withdraw from that or?
Oh yeah. So I remember my first account was a personal account. And I withdrew from that. I think it was about $800, which I was super proud of because I grew this account from 200. So I was really proud of this because I stayed very consistent to my plan. By the way, this was well after I blew those accounts. Just want to put that out there. This is not something I just ran into by chance. Once I started to follow some of my mentors' advice, just a quick shout out to Hamdi Zuka, the late Hamdi Zuka. He's passed away, unfortunately. He was my smart money concept mentor. And he taught us so much as a group. He taught us so much. One of the things that he really, I guess you could say, hit back home was the psychology aspect. And so once I just followed my plan, it was really difficult. But once I followed my plan and I trusted the system, I started to see the profits come in. My first, that $800, I think it was around $750 to be honest. It wasn't $800, it was around $750. That amount actually came from Smart Money Concepts. It wasn't from SNR just yet. And I didn't even know about SNR back then. And yeah, that was the first amount.
And when you say you trusted your system, I mean, talk us through that. So that level of trust that meant you could stay in trades or execute trades. What was the main thing that you were that got you there so that you could grow that 200 to 800?
That came from going through a losing streak, still sticking by my plan. So maybe the losing streak lasts half a month, 2 weeks. Sticking through the plan. So I stop when I need to stop. I trade when I see something valid. It doesn't mean, I see something valid, but I've gone through 3 losses. I'm scared to place. No, you're like a system. You place the trade if something's valid. If you've hit a certain number of losses, you stop. And I did that. And I saw that the profits I started to make my profits. I started to break even, and I started to make a little bit more back up. From where I lost. And so I said, okay, so this can happen again then. If I go through a losing streak, something unfortunate happens, I stick with it, and I should be able to come back up.
And can you remember what your sort of risk to reward ratio was at that point in time? Because that kind of, if you lose 10 and you're going for a 20-hour trade, okay, well, you're going to double the loss anyway. I mean, what was that like?
So I did not have a majority of my huge R trades. So when I plan a trade, I would plan it for the first take profit. And because of Smart Money Concepts and the way I learned it back then from my mentor, Hamdi Zuka, we had really good risk to rewards, and it was very realistic for us to hit them. So I'm saying you could start off with 1 to 8, 1 to 10, which in the SMC world, not talking about ICT, but with the regular Smart Money Concepts, offshore keys, unscripted effects, which was run by Hamdi Zuka, that is not a lot. They're talking 1 to 50 and all of that stuff. But 1 to 10 is a ton of R. You're getting a lot of reward for your risk. People don't seem to deep that. If you're getting 1 to 5, that's a lot of reward for your risk. But anyway, so what I did was, I'm so sorry. Could you please repeat that question?
So yeah, well, I suppose just to, so it was really just understanding what the risk to reward was on the trades, and you're sort of saying 1 to 10 was
1 to 10. Yeah.
You're going conservative at 1 to 10, which to me sounds like way out there. To me, 1 to 10 sounds like a humongous reward.
It is. It absolutely is.
But that for you was conservative on this approach.
I'll be honest, it wasn't conservative. We still understood it was a lot. It's just when you compare it to some of what these other guys were doing, whether or not they were actually taking their profits at 1 to 50, that's a different story. But they've planned the trades beforehand to go and reach this level, and it has. But to me, 1 to 10 was something that got me a lot of my losses back quick. And because we were placing trades. So the entire idea of placing trades on a lower time frame and then taking your profits at a logical higher time frame, take profit, immediately maximizes your reward potential. So I think that's what makes that 1 to 5 easy to get, 1 to 10 easy to get. If you ask me now, I'm sorry, I have to go on about this. If you ask me now what my risk to reward is, it's 1 to 2. That's not a joke. I'm trading Malaysian SNR. My risk to reward is 1 to 2, not 1 to 3, not 1 to 2.5. No, it's 1 to 2. That's it. So yeah.
Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at BLACKBULL Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at BLACKBULL Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at BLACKBULL Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below. Yeah, it's interesting. So you've gone from that like 1 to 10 to the 1 to 2. Like, just on that, why is the 1 to 2 more appealing, or what kind of what's the difference between trading a 1 to 2 versus a 1 to 10?
I honestly think the answer to that question lies in the fact that I have less time to look at the charts now, and so I prefer scalping. So if I'm taking a swing trade, like back then I was in college, uni, come back home, right? I don't have many other hobbies. Okay, I can sit there for like 2-3 hours with some music in there, with a drink, right? Watch the charts for whatever reason. But now I have a lot more things going on now that I've graduated, and I have a lot more things going on. And so I want to look at the charts. So I'll give you an example, right? I look at the charts. Within 2 to 5 minutes, I've understood what's going on. I know what I'm going to do if price gets to a certain area. And when price does, I set my little TradingView alert. When price does get there, I take my profits in 60 pips, or I lose the trade with 30 pips less. That's it. It's quick. I lose quick. I win quick. The win rate, as you call it, is higher now that I've understood my system better. And I think the key word here is that I spend less time on the charts now. That's why it appeals to me, because scalping, you don't have to take too much time managing your trades. Swing trades, 4 days, 5 days. Got to look at it a little bit.
Yeah. So those high R trades at the start, I mean, what kind of markets were you trading to get that?
Purely Euro USD, a little bit of GBP USD. And for some reason, a lot of people in the smart money concept space, I'm talking about the vast majority of them, they do seem to have an issue trading gold. But for me, after I understood Wyckoff with smart money concepts, which a lot of people hate on Wyckoff, but to me, it really did, get something in my head over there. With Wyckoff and smart money concepts, it really increased my win rate on gold. And I think that was where I started with gold.
Okay, right. So Euro US dollar 1 to 10. I mean, what timeframes were you looking to get in on?
We were getting in on, well, sometimes the 1 minute, but a lot of times we would enter. So we would look at points of interest to enter from the 5 minutes, 15 minutes max. We don't go more than 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how long would a trade run for? I mean, you sort of talked about managing the trade over a number of days. Yeah.
So that would be swing trading, right? So with smart money concepts, I never really, well, towards the later part of it, I did do scalping and I really enjoyed it because that was when I sort of transitioned into scalping with SMC. But with swing trading, I mean, you're talking gold. Yeah, maybe it's quicker. With Euro USD, it can be, when you're used to trading gold, Euro USD is a bit slower, but maybe around 4-day trades, swing trading. I've tried position trades where you're taking them based on weekly targets. I don't know whether my psychology was really built for that. I used to take profits off prematurely, which you could boast, 1 to 100. You did not take your profits at 100 hour. That did not happen. So yeah, I mean, it's the fact that the skill is still there in the sense that you've called those trades out beforehand to hit the target. But did you really have the psychology to hold your entire position 1 to 100?
Yeah.
I don't personally think that's very practical.
So back in the day when you're doing these, this SMC stuff, I mean, how much would you take off the table at different points? Well, could you hold it to, a 1 to 23 or something like that?
Well, what I did was it was a very simple approach. I took a majority of my profits if I was being impatient that day. Again, that comes back to my psychology. But if I saw something I didn't like to see and I was a little unsure of this trade lasting, I would simply take my intraday profits and I would take a significant chunk off the table. I'm talking 50, 60%. And I would leave the remainder to run its course, because at the same time, this was where I was building my discipline and my appetite for holding it to what you've planned to hold it to. Right. So yeah, I would take some of them off prematurely, but I would keep on practicing holding my trades to the amount that I'm supposed to hold them to.
Mm. And how far did you take the SMC in terms of, like, you know, by the end of it, you were doing X amount a week or a month or something like that?
Yeah, I think SMC, I spent a lot more time doing SMC. My trading journey was, majority of it was spent doing SMC. So I took it to, I think it was, I started with like really low percentages, of course, but I think I even worked it up to about 10% a month, 15% a month on like really, you know, good days. Those didn't come in large numbers, of course. I would still consistently make around 3% a week, 2% a week. Yeah, around those ranges. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you had to break it down, like, how many trades were you taking a week?
With SMC, swing trading, because I would trade Euro USD. I would try with GBP USD, didn't enjoy it. I didn't really understand the behavior of it. So I would do Euro USD and gold, EU gold, EU gold. And so it would play between those. So let's say on Euro USD, I'll take maybe 2-3 trades a week. On gold, maybe around the same, I would say 1 or 2 trades a week on gold. Yeah.
Okay. And so that sort of migration over to Malaysian SNR, I mean, what was the genesis behind it? How did it all start?
It started, that's a really good question. So it started with this one trader, Malaysian trader, he's still active in the space, who taught me engulfing. So the method of using engulfing candles, which literally is just the creation of order blocks. And you would use the creation of order blocks to understand the flow of the market. So it's going to flow from one order block to another, but they wouldn't call it an order block. They called it engulfing. And so that was where it started. I started with that. Didn't see much success with it, to be completely honest with you. I did not see much success with it at all. I understood it. I gained profitability, but in terms of consistency, I'm talking a win rate of 45%, which is just not good. If you ask me now, that's just not good. And so from there, that was engulfing. They didn't call it SNR. No, it's engulfing. And then I heard around in the space, there were whispers around in the space of SNR. And they said, wow, you know, there was a much better understanding of this. Look at the entries. They were far more precise. So I went and I followed a couple SNR traders on Instagram, Telegram. Mostly they were on Instagram, and I saw, wow, their trades looked really impressive. And their profits, they were calling live trades. There was no deleting of screenshots if things didn't work out. They were calling live trades. And I was like, this really looks legit. And it was. I started learning it. And I saw profitability really quickly with SNR, which was really surprising to me, because I saw profitability far quicker with SNR than I did other methods. So yeah.
Right. It's interesting, that, isn't it? Because I was going to sort of say, like, you know, obviously you were trading the SMC stuff, and probably at the same time you're learning the SNR. Why was it? I mean, you're obviously making money with the SMC. Yeah, SNR was a lot faster in terms of becoming profitable, but was there something else about it to make you think, I'm going to make the switch to just focusing on the style completely?
Yeah, it was a much simpler, less complex approach to understanding the markets. That's one. The second thing, which was the biggest turning point for me, which was that with support and resistance, I understood the movement of, I would trade gold a lot towards the end of my SMC journey. I would migrate from Euro USD to gold. And I found that I understood the movement of gold far more effortlessly with support and resistance, with this Malaysian support and resistance. So yeah, that was the biggest reason for me.
And do you think that, like, because I've had a couple of other traders on here, and both of them, I believe, trade gold with Malaysian SNR. So is it a gold kind of strategy, or is it more just gold moves in a way that gives you profits quicker? I mean, why gold and why not something else?
There are support and resistance traders in Malaysia that do trade other pairs, GJ, very rarely Euro USD. I think a big appeal to it is how volatile gold is. You get your profits quicker, typically, and even during a day which has a bank holiday, it moves relatively quickly. That's one of the appeals. But I'll be very honest with you, I have not seen much success using my support and resistance approach on currency pairs. So sometimes I post videos on my YouTube channel. We can talk about that later, but I post videos on there and I see a lot of people ask me in the comment section, hey, does this work with gold only? What about Euro USD? And I say, I'll be honest with you, I've not gained success on currency pairs using Malaysian SNR. I'll admit that. Maybe there's some knowledge out there that I have not been exposed to. I'm sure there is, that would help me gain more consistency and profitability on currency pairs. But no, I'm not very successful trading currency pairs using SNR. I am very successful and I find a lot of consistency and profitability trading gold. And it seems as though the behavior of gold follows the rules of this particular concept called storylines. It follows the rules of this storyline concept very religiously. And that makes it very easy to understand. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because currencies, I suppose, because they're more mean reverting, it kind of possibly means there's just too much in the way to get a decent storyline most of the time. Could that be the reason?
I'll be very honest with you, Cam. I don't have the answer to it. I don't have the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's funny. Is it? Okay. Right. But it is interesting that you used to trade Euro US dollar and you were quite successful at it, but now your system just doesn't work with it, which I mean really sort of brings it back to, I suppose there must have been a few other things with Malaysian SNR which did, get you give you the confidence that this is time to make a shift. I'm going to definitely make a shift. I mean, the time thing was obviously an element. Was there anything else in there that made you sort of think, look, there's no point in me doing the smart money concept stuff because I can make is it the same amount of money or kind of the same, or it just felt easier, it felt better?
It felt easier. I understood the concept. I picked up support and resistance quicker. I understood it easier. I gained, the biggest part was that I gained not consistency, but I gained profitability within the first 5 to 6 months, which to me is really quick, in my opinion. And then I gained consistency only after I implemented my trading plan, which, again, thanks to SMC, thanks to me going through the undisciplined era of my trading psychology and following a trading plan using SMC, I figured out, okay, I know now how to be disciplined with my trading plan. And then consistency just started to flow back in. So now you have a system that takes 5 minutes to analyze, and you have already the knowledge of how to follow your trading plan. And so that just creates this synergy of profitability and consistency within, I think, the first year or year and a half of me starting SNR.
And if you're going to sort of break down verbally how you would go and analyze a chart, I mean, what would be the 5 minute sort of process?
Sure, yeah. So I would So I open I opened my MT4 nowadays. I trade just off of my phone because that's how quick you can do these things. Of course, when I first started out, you're not sure about certain things, so you open up your trading view and things like that. So what I would do, I would look at the storyline, right? I would look at what the storyline is from the monthly all the way down to the daily. Even though I'm a scalper, I scalp and I take entries on lower timeframes, and I take only 1 to 2 risk to rewards. But I look at every single higher time frame, monthly, weekly, daily, their storyline. So I've understood that. Now I understand which zones, or rather what's happening right now, and I understand which zones I'm going to be looking to sell from, which zones I'm going to be looking to buy from, obviously. But a lot of times it's not that simple. You have a bunch of zones to buy from. You have a bunch of sell zones to sell from. And so what I do is I filter those zones. So let's assume we have 5 buy zones. What I would do is I would say out of these 5, I'll pay most of my attention to 2 or 3 of them. And the other 2, which sometimes price could touch it and just leave you, I'm going to look for extra confirmation on those areas. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's simple. We might jump into a price chart later on and check it out in detail. So you obviously had a lot of, you've got a lot of traders in your group following you, what you do on a daily basis. I mean, can you give us some insight into like some of the things you're seeing which traders struggle? I mean, you obviously picked this up pretty quickly, but you had already been profitable, which makes sense. Where are other people struggling with this kind of approach?
Were other people struggling with this approach? Yes, I think a lot of them do not understand. which is fine. They do not understand how each time frame plays into each other. So in terms of the storyline, if you have the weekly that's bullish and you have the daily that's bearish, what now? Like these are two conflicting ideologies. What do I do now? What do I wait for? So once you I think a lot of people have issues understanding when everything works together to create the buy, which I wouldn't say is easy, but it's something that takes practice for sure. I guess to me, it just clicked better. Maybe I had a mentor or I had multiple mentors who explained it better to me. I don't know. Maybe I need to improve myself on that. But yeah, I just understood it easier. So to understand how each time frame plays into each other to create that trade. Aside from that, I think a lot of people just purely have issues with risk management. I think that's what it is.
Right, so just risking too much on a trade.
Risking too much, risking too much on a trade, I think that comes from understanding or not understanding that the markets, at the end of the day, you can say whatever you want in hindsight. This is something I personally believe in. You can say whatever you want about the charts in hindsight, but when you're seated there as a human being analyzing the charts, you still don't know exactly for certain what's going to happen tomorrow. You can't answer that question. So when people watch my videos and they say, okay, so this is a rules-based trading system, Avi, I really like it. This is a rules-based trading system. So if I follow these 5 rules, that means the trade is going to win. No, not necessarily so. That's where risk management comes in, because if I can say something like, yeah, okay, practically, or rather I should say, factually speaking, the markets aren't random. We can agree maybe that the markets are run by an algorithm, by mathematics. Okay, cool. But you are not the banks. You are not the institutions. So they may not be random to them, but to you as a human being, unless you're viewing the charts in hindsight, you can't for certain say this is exactly what price is going to do. This is exactly where price is going to reject from. And if you could, why don't you just remove all your risk parameters, right? So coming back to my point, that's why you have risk parameters, because you don't know for certain. Yeah.
And a lot of the Malaysian traders, and I don't know if you've met many of them, but they typically sort of split their accounts across multiple, or their funds across multiple accounts, and then might try and work on an account and push it really hard. Talking about risk management, like risk a lot to get a lot of gain or blow that account. Is that your kind of approach?
I've tried it to show people how it's done. I think probably 2 years back, but no, I don't do that. I don't support it. I don't do it because I think it gives people who are just trying to find their footing in this space an unrealistic result, or it's going to create bad habits for them. I think it's promoting. I don't think it creates bad habits for them. People create bad habits for themselves, but I think it promotes a bad habit. Yeah. I think you should, as a mentor or as somebody who somewhat has influence over the trading space, you need to promote good habits. That's just what I think.
And what about like prop firms? Have you ever sort of decided to go for a prop firm like challenge and try and pass it, or get funded? Or does that even sort of cross your mind?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good thing, that people who have just gained consistency, just gained profitability, and if you're confident in your abilities after you've traded your little personal account, maybe you've done paper trading before that, I think it is a brilliant thing for you to get yourself into. Get a funded challenge, even if it's just 10K by FTMO. I used to have an MFF account, but there was some controversies, if I'm not wrong, last year or 2 years ago. I can't really remember. Yeah. And after that, I didn't like I forgot which prop firm it was that had a limit on, or had certain rules about trading news. And I'm a huge news trader. I love to trade news because it just feeds right into storylines anyway. But I didn't really like those rules. And so I just took my profits into a personal account. But forgetting all of that, right now, how I trade. Back then, I used to use swing trading on gold with SNR. And then I said, you know what? I don't have too much time anymore. Let's go into scalping with SNR. To answer your question, I still think it is brilliant for traders to get yourself a funded account. I had an FTMO account. I had an MFF account, moved my profits into a personal account. FTMO, I think, is still trusted. A lot of people still trust it. I have friends who have FTMO accounts, and I encourage anybody out there who is confident in their trading, SNR or not, to get themselves a funded account.
Now, let's dive back into sort of like, I suppose, mindset kind of stuff. Like, first of all, yourself, what do you think made you maybe different from anyone else who's ventured into the trading space?
I treat trading like it's life, in the sense that you're never going to have good days all the time. And it's what you do on the bad days that determine the future of your account, which would be your life, right? Or your life, which would be your account. So one thing that really changed, I guess you could say one thing I did differently was I worked on my psychology, because I figured out that that was my weakest point when I first started out. And I would get really anxious when I placed a trade. I would revenge trade. I would be very emotional. And so I figured out, okay, that's my weakness. Anybody can follow rules, I think, but it's what happens when the trade is not really going to plan. What do you do? When your week is not looking good, what do you do? Your month not looking good. So I really focused on psychology. Aside from that, this is going to be controversial, but it plays into a point that I mentioned before. I believe that a piece of psychology that helped me was to understand that, to me, as an individual human being trading the markets do have an aspect of randomness. A lot of people are going to disagree. The markets are not random. Everything can be explained. Yes, but they can only be explained in hindsight. And again, I always come back to this. I don't mean to start anything or whatever. I'm just telling you what I think, what has helped me. If you know for certain what's going to happen next, remove your risk parameters. Just risk your entire account. Because at this point, you're an institution, right? You know what's going to happen next. Out of these three zones, it's the middle one that gets hit. The first one gets stopped out. The third one doesn't get hit at all. If you know these things, what's the point of risk management, right? So for me, again, I don't want to speak for other people. If you have a 100% win rate, fantastic. But for me, I don't. I don't have a 100% win rate. I don't know for 100% certain what the next moves of the market are going to be. So based on that, I can speak for myself and say, I am going to set myself risk parameters and I'm going to stick by them, because to me, the markets, although they're not completely random, they do have an element of randomness to them. And all my job is, as a trader that has acquired the skill of Malaysian SNR or SMC or whatever, my job is to put as many odds in my favor. That's it. After that, I have no control over what happens next. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a good point. I mean, they're like, they're not, they are random to a certain degree, right? Because you will, sure, even if you back test it and go, this system is 100%, there's probably something you've missed in there. And look, and I say that because I've built a lot of systems into robots, and things pop up and you go, well, hang on a sec, these are the rules, but it's taken that trade. Oh yeah, actually that one met the rule, but right, it didn't look like it met the rule. Even in hindsight, it didn't look like it met the rule. So interesting stuff. Now, what about like somebody coming into it for the first time and you giving them a pathway to becoming profitable? What would that pathway be?
I would say you need to educate yourself on one pair. That's what I think. Educate yourself on one pair first. I think that's quite obvious. And be flexible. Once you've understood your rules, once you've gotten maybe you've joined a mentorship or you've watched some leak videos, that's fine. But once you've gained some form of profitability and you've understood the system that you're trading and you're working with, educate yourself on one pair to build consistency. And of course, without a trading plan, I can't give you a trading plan. A trading plan works with me. Once you've created what you're going to do when certain things happen, once you've done that, then it's just about repetition. So I think you need to, in the early days, you really need repetition. Right now, I'll be honest with you. I think the last time I backtested was like 4 weeks ago. I backtested because I didn't understand a certain movement that happened. So I backtested and I said, okay, cool. I understand it now. So that was just to refresh my memory. But after that, you've seen the same things happen over and over again. So what I would say is to educate yourself on one pair, prioritize risk management. Psychology is incredibly important. And even though you're following the rules religiously, you need to still be flexible. There are certain things that happen in the market. Markets are messy. And I don't mean to steer the conversation in a different direction, but I do martial arts and fighting is messy. It's very messy. What you learn in the training room, well, the trading room too. What you learn in the trading or training room, it's idealistic and it is something that is rules-based for sure. But when you actually step onto the mats or when you actually dive into the charts, it's messy. And so you need to be able to perform under pressure and you need to be able to make the right decisions under pressure. Yeah, that's what it's about.
Yeah, yeah. That's just a good. It's a good comparison. The fighting is like, yeah, in the training room it's like, punch, kick. In the actual fight, it's not going to happen like that, right? Now, what about the price chart? Oh, actually, before we dive into that, I want to play devil's advocate here
Yeah.
and go. Somebody decides to take on Malaysian SNR themselves, and they go off and do a bit of research. Maybe they don't watch your video; they watch someone else's video, but they go, "Oh, I want to trade. I don't want to trade gold. I want to trade euro, US dollar." And they go into it, back test it, can't get it to work. I mean, at what point do you sort of give up on something and go, maybe it's not the system, maybe it's the market that I'm trading it on. If somebody was focused on like, a market they've always been trading, they just didn't want to trade gold for whatever reason.
Here's the thing, man. With SNR, there are certain variations, and it absolutely does work on Euro USD. Malaysian SNR works on currencies. Here's the deal though. When you deal with different currencies, you deal with different behaviors, and you need to understand, you need to spend time understanding how these currencies react differently. I believe that the typical understanding of Malaysian SNR storyline is working, it works on across currencies. It's just that certain currencies may not do one thing which gold does, and gold may do two things which currency pairs don't do. You need to figure that out. Me personally, I haven't. So that's what you need to figure out. And so to answer your question, at what point does it become apparent to you that you should probably, I guess you're saying it doesn't work on this pair. I think that comes from you testing it on gold first. And if you see it works there more effortlessly than it does on currency pairs, then maybe, I guess you should maybe trade gold, or I'll be honest, if it doesn't work on one pair but it works on another, I would just go with the other pair. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose the reality is, if it doesn't work, try again, kind of thing, right? If you're going to backtest, you may as well backtest across different time periods and different markets.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, because it does work on currency pairs, because I've seen traders who, for example, which is really odd, by the way, but there are a few of these traders, they learn Malaysian SNR and they don't at all even touch gold. For me, I feel like gold is a staple in Malaysian SNR, but they don't touch it. And that's fine, because they found success on GBP, JPY, GJ. They found success on rarely is it ever Euro USD, but GU. I've seen Euro USD traders. I know two people personally who trade Euro USD using Malaysian SNR. And I'm like, okay, you've understood something I haven't. Good for you, man. Yeah. So it does work. It's just about whether you're willing to figure it out.
Because I've heard there are different types of Malaysian SNR. I mean, have you sort of pigeonholed yourself into a specific type of Malaysian style here, or are you? And how would you define that, and like compared to the other ones? I don't even think I know the other ones.
Yeah, there are some systems which are very heavily based in trend lines. There are some systems which are like mine, which are based on storylines, and I guess you could say market structure. Yeah, sure, it's market structure. I don't really bother too much about some of the other variants because I found success in my own. What I do apply are concepts from other variants. So there may be a little trendline rule from the trendline base of SNR. Some people purely find their storylines using trendlines, which I don't prefer to do. I prefer using structure. So I take bits and pieces. Some people, which it's rare, I know only one person who does this, who places a heavy emphasis on timing. And I'm not talking about kill zones. I'm not talking about session trades. I'm talking about which candles in a year, in a month, in a week do certain things, right? So I think that, again, I have to give credit where credit's due. I think that goes back to Smart Money Concepts and Inner Circle Trader. But there are some people who do that with timing, and I've added that into my arsenal. I don't place trades based on it very often because I think it's more suited towards swing trading. But sure, they call it the OHLC concept. I've just learned it from a really good friend of mine, and it helps for sure. It's a confluence that I add if I'm a little unsure about certain things. So to answer your question, I did pigeonhole myself into this because I found success with this method, but I do also I experiment. If someone talks about something new, I say, okay, I found success with what I know. Let's see if I can add a little something else in this. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if just this sort of like a hypothetical question here, but I mean, if something else came along and maybe it was just an element of Malaysian SNR or even a whole new concept, what would be the thing that would make you shift at this point in time?
Wow, it must be something that is far more convenient than Malaysian SNR. It must be something that um, is more. Wow, it must give me. I guess the only thing really would be something more convenient, but I can't imagine something more
Yeah.
convenient or quick to analyze. Like with Malaysian SNR, there are probably three things you need to do. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on you, but probably three things you need to do to set yourself up for a decent bit of consistency, a decent bit of understanding, I should say. If you, yeah, I struggle to think of a system that has fewer rules to follow than Malaysian SNR. I think that's what it is.
And I think it's what you haven't said there that is the key, is a key lesson for everyone, which is you didn't say anything about, like, a system that will give you more money or more profit. You're happy with the 2R. I'll walk away
Absolutely.
with that every day of the week. So folks, that's something to just consider. I mean, what was the win rate again on that? Just so that
Win rate. Oh
the
man,
win.
I've gained. I will answer your question. Don't worry about it. But I have far higher win rate. I've achieved a far higher win rate with Malaysian SNR than I ever have with smart money concepts. And I think that has to do with my understanding. It doesn't have to do with the concepts. It doesn't have to do with
Mm.
MSNR is better. No, it's just I understand it better and I've practiced it more maybe. Um, 85%. I've never gone higher than that, but I've achieved 85% on gold. And I'm very proud of that because I used to have the highest I've achieved with smart money concepts was 2 months of 70 to 75, 74%. I do take my win rate very seriously. But when I first started out with smart money concepts, man, what, 55, 60%? But the R was good. So at the end of the day, you do end
Mm.
up with a good bit of profits. But with gold, and you have to understand, you're holding it for 2R. That's it. 60 pips actually is what I hold it for. I can be specific with it. 60 pips, nothing more. You get that hit more often than you don't. Out of 10 trades, I get that hit 8 times, maybe nine
A-
times. Yeah, it's good.
And you're not doing any sort of management on those trades, right? You're literally just
Barely
into the
any,
trade.
barely any. So if there are maybe if I'm a little doubtful of a certain scalp, it's just 1 to 2 R. But if I'm a little doubtful on it, I will set my trade to break even. My rule is I don't set my trade to break even. I place my trade, 30 pip stop loss, 60 pip take profit. Of course, I follow my rules, whatever. But if I'm a little unsure about whether this is going to hit my 60 pips, maybe it reverses halfway or whatever, and I have that doubt, which rarely happens. But when it does, I set myself to break even once a little bit of structure is broken. I can get into more specifics, but once a little bit of structure is broken, I set myself to break even. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting. And sorry, what was the time frame again that you enter on mostly?
Okay, well, nowadays I enter on M5, M15, but I don't want to share about that because it's two reasons. One is it's not my concept. This is not something from me, and I respect the person who gave it to me. He wants this to be kept within his gatekeeping. It's his thing that he thought. It is what it is. I can't just be
Yeah.
the person to give it out. That's not right. But the second thing is that I never gained the 85% win rate using this. Right now my win rate is probably 75, maybe. Yeah, so it's dropped, but I'm still very happy with it. But back when I gained my 85% win rate, I never used this lower time frame
Right.
way. So it's like,
Yeah.
you don't need it, because now when people hear, oh my gosh, Avi has mentioned something about an M5, M15 on Cam's training podcast, they're going to say, screw whatever he's thought before. Let's go and find this out. Come
Right.
on, man.
Okay.
And the
Yeah.
next person's going to hop on your podcast and talk about something else, and they're going to hop on that. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to say, focus on the fundamentals first, because that's how I got that win rate.
Yeah. And when you sort of like, how do you analyze your win rate, i.e., or your trades as a whole? I mean, have you got a trading journal or something else? And when do you look at it and sort of go back and go, okay, well, this is how it performed?
Yeah, sure. So I log every single one of my trades. It may seem cumbersome to some, but that's what I do because I'm very big into analyzing my win rates, which months of the year my win rate has dropped. I try to figure something that out if there's a pattern. So I log it on, I think we all know it's called Notion. It's a very popular
Yeah.
journaling
Yeah.
app. I log it on Notion. I got it on my phone. I pick it up. I type in the trade. All of these things probably takes me an extra 3 to 5 minutes. That's it. So maybe, it's a quick log. When did I take the trade? Obviously, my risk appetite is on that, depending on the setup. But when did I take the trade? What was the trade? What was the day and month? It's already saved on there. So I don't even have to do too much work. So from there, by the end of the month, I just go back and I do a little math and I figure, I think there are some formulas that you can play around with in Notion. I'm not that high tech just yet. So I just manually count it up and I figure out what my win rate is by the end of the month. Yeah.
Well, we're going to dive into like mindset here. So have you got any sort of mindset things that you do or you've brought into your life that you think others might find useful?
I think this applies to far more than just trading. It's for you to put in effort. You need to put in effort. It sounds very cliche, I guess. Yeah, you need to put in effort to what you want, but it's true. Anything that you put your energy into, after a certain amount of time, you're going to see results. Of course, if you're doing the wrong thing and you're not getting results and you still do the wrong thing, it's not going to change. But that's one thing that I've learned very heavily in 2023. It's that whatever you put your energy into, you're going to reap some rewards off of it. And after a certain amount of time, even if you've experienced bad moments in it, it's going to account to more. But mindset-wise, in terms of maybe, I guess, psychology for trading, I would just say, man, you have to think like you are a business owner of your account. That's how I like to think about this. I forgot who introduced this bit of psychology to me, but you have to think as though you're running a business and you're buying and selling goods. Whatever it is, you're not going to give away free products, right? In that sense, you wouldn't be over trading. You wouldn't be revenge trading. Don't attach emotions to your trade, which is why it's so important for me to tell you, paper trade first, right? Paper trade first. Use a little $100 account. A lot of people say, man, $100 is not enough for me to even practice am I going to use 0.01 lots? First of all, it depends on your trade. But second of all, if you want to use more, it's because you're placing more emphasis on, I want to get more profits out of my $100. I want to make 150 by the end of this month. Focus on making more right decisions than wrong decisions. Everybody, this is not just for trading. Everybody, when faced with a choice, you know what the right choice is. You know what the right decision is. It's just about whether you make it. And if you don't make it, are you comfortable with the consequence? That's the risk, right? If you don't make the right choice, let's say you're being a little bit too flexible with the setup, you need to be comfortable with the consequence. Yeah.
Now, before we dive into a couple of quick fire questions here, is there anything that I haven't asked you today that you really thought you might, want to share with the audience?
I can't, man. Put me on the spot like this. I can't think of. These are things that I think about in the shower. These are things that come to me randomly. But no, I think you've really hit the spot on a bunch of these questions. Yeah, for sure. I can't really think of anything else. So.
Okay, good. So we've got it all. We've got it all.
I believe so.
Okay, right. So a couple of quick fire questions here. Do you have a favorite entry setup?
Yeah, sure. I do like the anticipation trades. So we could probably talk about that on the chart later on, but. I do like trades for people who've been following my videos. I'm sure we have a bunch of people here watching that. But I like the trades where you have yourself a daily storyline that hasn't fully confirmed, but it's given you a medium risk setup. And I like taking those because they give me an early entry, a good entry. Yeah, it's pretty reliable. That's it.
What's your preferred broker and trading platform?
I'm a huge advocate of IC Markets, trading platform MT4. Yeah. IC Markets.
Do you want to walk us through your worst ever trade?
Worst ever trade. Ooh, this must be back in SMC days. Worst ever trade would have to be probably on gold, where I think I revenge traded like 5 times in one night, which was, it was terrible. It was very bad. But yeah, that's the worst trade. I think I revenge traded about 5 or 6 times. This was during the first year of Smart Money Concepts, learning it. And I showed my results to Hamdi, my mentor at the time. And he was just like, what are you doing, brother? This is not what I thought you at all. And I just felt so guilty about it because it's like, you're right. You didn't teach us this. You advocated for strict risk management. But yeah.
And at the time, I'm going to throw this one to you. Did you journal those trades down, each revenge trade? Or was it like, I'm out of control here? I'm just
no, because I barely even had, I did have a trading plan because I adopted it pretty quickly and I understood the importance of one, but I didn't really bother about it because at that time I was like, man, I'm following the rules. It's not working. I'm placing the trade. It's not working. I'm placing another one. It's shown that little M5 break of structure. It's still not, it's just going back. place, I was just frustrated, and that just revealed, that exposed to me, wow, you have a very bad habit of getting emotional at the charts. And so I said, that was actually a huge turning point for me. That nah, you gotta really take your psychology seriously.
Now, you're a young guy. You've obviously cracked trading. What do you see the sort of next 5 to 10 years looking like for yourself? Is it like, I just want to rinse and repeat this, I love it so much, or have you got sort of other aspirations?
I'll be honest, I would like to rinse and repeat this continuously, because I approached trading. I've always, actually, even from the start, back in high school when I got introduced to this stuff, I've always approached trading as a way to cover a certain part of my life. So for example, I'll give you an example. When I first started out with Smart Money Concepts, and when I actually gained consistency, I used those profits to cover the amount of food I would spend, or the amount of money I would spend on food that month. That was always how I viewed it. So I never really viewed trading as the be all end all, the primary source of income. That's just been me. It can absolutely be that. If I were to scale my account right now, or who knows, maybe pay for a new funded account, absolutely, I think that would be very good. To be honest with you, I'm really considering that towards halfway of this year, because I have certain other things, aspirations that I want to pursue. But halfway through this year, I really do plan to take another funded account and just document the entire journey for YouTube, just to show people the ugly side of it. You know, if I lose, I'm gonna admit it. If when I win, look, this is how you can do these things. And it's to inspire other people, but also for me, I really have thought about that. But for me, I've always viewed trading as a side income. And it just so happens to be that I've gained a lot more profitability and consistency, that I've been able to not just take care of food for that month, but I've been able to take care of a lot of other, maybe hobbies, right? I pay for my mixed martial arts class using the profits from trading. And it feels really nice, because it's sort of like it's free, sort of, because you're sat at the back of your phone, you've placed a trade, you win some, you lose some, but at the end of the month, you've gained enough to go ahead and pay for the things you want to pay for. And that's just a nice thing to have.
And do you have sort of a withdrawal routine on, I'm going to withdraw at the end of each month, or when I had a profit target, something like that?
For me, I used to have a profit target. Now I just withdraw at the end of the month. My profit target last time, it used to be, I think it was 5%. Well, it first started off with numbers. So if I gained $100, I would withdraw 50 and leave 50 back at the account, something like that. Basically, I would sort of create a little thing like that. Now I just withdraw at the end of the month. And it's quite nice to see how much you've earned, if it was a good month, how much you've earned, and how much, if you've lost, how you've gained it back through the discipline of following your routine, which I really like to see. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, look, before we wrap up, what's the best way for traders to get hold of you?
The best way for traders to get a hold of me? Telegram, probably. Yeah.
Okay, well, tell you what, folks, you should be able to see it here if you're on the screen in front of you. If not, head over to Trading Nut or jump into those links below this video or podcast in the description there, and you'll be able to find the links to his Telegram there. Look, thank you once again, Avs, for coming on the show. Everyone, head over there, tradingnut.com, grab all the stuff, and until next time, I wish all my listeners trading happiness and success. All right, folks, there you have an interview done and dusted with Avesworld. Now, if you want to check out that video to find out what he does on price chart, there's a link below this one here where you can actually get access to that. So go and check that out whilst you're there. Check out those sponsors. There's some great offers on at Trading Nut. And if you're looking for that robot I mentioned at the start of the show, find out through Robot Lab Live. You can join there and join this current build. It's only available to the people that join during this time. So if you want it, there is a coupon code for sticking around to the end. It's FVG Video. Use that code at checkout. You're going to have a massive discount there. All right, folks, enough from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.